bohemian garlic sausage. This is from Finley's Butcher Shop in Ackworth, Georgia. It's gonna go straight onto my trusty, very weathered skillet. And we're gonna sear these guys off. And then over here, we've got some pork chops, also from Finley's in Ackworth. And these are some really nice quality pork chops that we're gonna spice up in a moment here, and they'll be going on the skillet after the sauce. Oops. I really love the pork that I get from Finley's, and I'm pretty picky about my pork. I don't eat grocery store pork. Not even a little bit. I gotta know where the fucking animal eats. Because pigs eat everything in their environment. So if there's any bullshit in their environment, it's in the pigs. I wish I had a lid. What I'm actually gonna do is transfer these to a pan. Cover them up. We're gonna crank up this burner.
Where are these guys?
Now, the recipe and the spice blend that we use will be on our Patreon. So go ahead and join up so that you can learn exactly how delicious we made these things, and they're going to be quite tasty. Flip these beauties. Look at that. This skillet is my favorite for searing off a chop or a steak, especially cut like this. Now, obviously with pork, you want to get it cooked all the way through, but you don't want to cook it dry to shit. Although Caribbean style in general, those spices and flavors kind of lend themselves to a more cooked through, drier piece of meat, because traditionally in those cultures you're going to see that they cooked all the way through. You know, my dad being Cuban, there's a lot of well done stuff in the house. But for these, you let them go. Nowadays they even say with pork of this high quality, you can eat that shit medium if you wanted to. I don't really play that game, but you don't want to dry them out. You let these bad boys cook a little more, get that next side seared, and then we're going to sear the fat after that. Just kind of let it sear into its thing, then I'll flip it, do the same thing, then I'll lay it on the other side. Like I said, with this pork we want it to really cook through. The beauty of a piece like this though is that big bolt of fat down the side. That's just going to give so much juice to the meat, and it's just such a beautiful piece of pork. Like this is really like the New York strip of pig right here. Gorgeous. That's exactly the kind of sear you want on your fat. And then we are going to pull these guys down to the side here, and then we're going to do the same thing with these two puppies. Going to stand them up on their fat side up so we can get a nice caramelized sear on them. And once that sears off, we're going to cut one to see how they turned out. We're getting some cornmeal for some arepa. I'm gonna add a little more water, I think. I figured with the pork juice in the pan there, it's a good time to make some tasty fried cornbread. Essentially what arepa is. I learned this from my brother, Mario, his mom. She is from Colombia, and she used to make these fuckers at least a couple times a week, and they would be in the house. And at the time that I was over there, I was in my early 20s. And was competing in kickboxing and working late nights and going to art college all at the same time. And when I would be doing that shit, wake up starving, hungover, whatever, and steal the entire plate of arepas into my bedroom and abscond with them and bribe my siblings by sharing so as not to be ratted out. But it is a great little tasty fucking addition to any meal, and like I said, with that pork juice that is working up there, which we're about to pull those suckers off like right now, it's going to be an awesome little treat, awesome little addition. It's going to give it a lot of flavor. We add some salt to this, and we're good. And these guys are going to come off right now. At least this guy is. He's ready. These are all really ready. So I'm going to get a little color on the back side of these for a couple seconds here. This is ready. We're going to let the cornmeal sit. A pan, 100% white corn. I don't think that's They're ready to come off and rest for a few minutes. While they're resting, we're gonna let our arepa dough, I never know if you call this dough or masa or whatever the fuck, but we're gonna let it set for about 5-10 minutes, and we're gonna lower the heat on this so we don't burn our fat. You can even turn it off for the 5 minutes because that fat chilling won't do anything negative to it for a minute. And let that bubble up, and that's it. We'll spice each individual arepa. A lot of times you can put salt right in the dough or in the masa, but for me, I actually, when I'm gonna do smaller ones, and when I do them like that, I like to hit them with a little garlic salt or a little paprika, just a little something extra, give them a little extra flavor. Especially since I did not bring butter to the Airbnb because I didn't want it to melt in the car. So with only olive oil and pork fat, we'll make do. So this will sit about 5 minutes. The only main thing you want to do when you're working it, make sure it's got a nice consistency and that you work it smooth. You don't want any big lumps in it. You don't want any big dry chunks in it. You want it to have a nice consistency. It'll leave a little bit on your hands, but if it's too sticky, it's not right. So this right here, and then boom, that guy can hang out for a few minutes. We'll wash up while the pork is resting. The arepa dough or fucking masa will set. The sausage will finish, and then we'll start the broccoli when we start the arepa. More food tales from the Airbnb. So I'm gonna cut into this little pork choppy here and see. Oh yeah, that's just what you want. It's a little on the dry side, frankly, but it looks really tasty. So I'm gonna cut a couple strips. And Mike and I are gonna sample this bad boy.
It's really tasty. It's not that dry. Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah. I've had dry.
It didn't run. I wanted it to run a little bit when I cut it, but it's really nice. It's gonna go really good with arepa. Roll my arepa. Where's my garlic salt? A little garlic salt. Just a little bit of garlic salt. I like a little small arepa if I'm not filling it with anything while I'm gonna cook it up. This guy's put on the sticky side. Might have could have used a little more water, but we're here now, so. We're here now, so, or maybe a little less, who knows. There we go, pop that puppy down. And again, it's really simple. It's water, it's cornmeal, it's either salt, garlic salt, whatever flavor that you like to want to add to it. A lot of the time, what I'll do is stuff mozzarella cheese into it or cotija. Stuff a bunch of sliced steak or roasted chicken. I mean, that's the beauty of a food like this. Any poverty food, really, which any kind of fried dough or bread is, whether it's a fucking dumpling, an arepa, or anything like that. It's a delivery system. It's a vehicle for other flavors, for other foods, for whatever you have around. When you think about any kind of delicious food that comes out of poverty, it's like, what can we make out of what we have? How can we make what we have delicious and nutritious and fuel us and make us want to eat this shit? And that's what foods like this do. You fry something as delicious as bread, essentially cornbread, in fat of some kind. You spice it, you season it, you make it make your day worthwhile. That's anything. Spread that fat around a little bit. That's the other thing too, in our culture now, we avoid carbohydrates because you don't want to end up like a big fat fuck like me. But also, we don't appreciate that things like fats and carbohydrates were what fueled our ancestors to be able to survive in order to get us to where we are today, to get us here. So stuff like an arepa, stuff like a lumpia like your family would make, or fucking rice-heavy dishes that are loaded with fat. Think about a culture like America where we ate bear fat with almost every meal in the early days. Think about a culture like Spain where pig fat, pork fat is so integral to everyday nutrition. You know what I mean? And we underutilize those awesome ingredients. We were just talking before the camera came out about pork blood as an ingredient. The stuff is magic. While we're mid-flip on our arepas, we're gonna get our sausage off of the heat. These guys, I got a really good sear on one side and a nice little golden brown on the other. They've definitely cooked through because they've been steaming at least 4 times the amount of time that we seared them. And they're gonna get thrown over right here with their brothers, these little pork chops. Now we're gonna use this pan and its goodness to make something healthy even better than what it would be. So we're gonna add a little olive oil, a little healthy, a little less healthy, and a little more tasty as far as the next ingredients. Again, get our arepas flipped. Beautiful. This guy could have used more time. Now, these guys have obviously soaked up a lot of that pork fat, right? So what we're gonna do from here is, when I pull these off the next couple, we'll add a little bit of olive oil, and I will drop our heat a little bit so we don't burn the outside and have chewy inside. That's what you don't want. First thing, a few cloves. Garlic is another food that I think has like medicinal properties. Whoop. Give that a rinse. Back home you go, yeah, I think garlic is one of those things that's like slept on for how fucking good it is for you. When it comes to garlic, shallots, these kind of things like, there we go again. You know, my grandfather used to eat tons of garlic, he used to eat whole cloves. When he passed away, we were going through his luggage because he was supposed to come on a trip with me right before he passed away. And he had several cloves of garlic just like strewn about his luggage. When we would fly, sometimes he would be pulled aside for having organic materials in his packages and in his,
and it
on
was
his
garlic.
person. He would literally have like a clove of garlic in his pocket. But anyway, these guys are coming along nicely. I want to get a little more gold on these two, kind of like the way these guys are looking. And that's because these guys had more fat, had more contact with that fat. So as you can see, when it flipped, the fat already got in on this side. So the same thing, I want to get a little more golden on these puppies. And once they come off, I'm gonna hit this pan with a bit of olive oil. Hit it with a bit of olive oil so that the next few have a little more golden color. Stupid simple. It's got a lot of water in it. Cooks down quite a bit. I think you don't need an package for it. You can see anyway. So what I'm doing here is getting that oil and that fat nicely dispersed amidst our broccoletti. And then you keep it real simple, real simple. Just a little salepep, as my great grandmother would have said. And now, I've dropped the heat down. We're gonna cover them up, let a little steam get in these guys. Cool. So these guys are good to go. I'm actually gonna give this guy a go on that side just for a second. This guy, ready, Freddy. So, A, you get chef fingers, you touch hot shit, it's not too terrible. Okay, B, you feel the consistency of stuff, whether it be a piece of steak or an arepa. So when I push down this guy, still a little more give than I want to feel. This guy's a little more firm. So he's ready. Now I pull the pan off the heat so that when I drop the oil on it, it's not as high as it could go. The minute you pull the pan off, it's going to start cooling down right away. And that's something you got to always consider. Give this guy another little touch test. And look, watch. See when I push him out, it's a little spongy out here still. A little soft. So give him a press. Give an opportunity for any of those gooier parts to kind of like break and compress. Almost like when you're scrambling an egg and you're moving it around. Same kind of thing when you want to speed up the process of something like an arepa or a pancake or any shit like that. So this guy's looking pretty good. I want to get him off and get some more fat on
because I don't want it to burn. So I'm gonna add some oil. We're gonna have a little smoke because olive oil has a pretty low smoke point, as most oils go. Hence why I took the skillet off of the burner before letting it ride. Now I'll put it back, watch it go.
If you can hear the sound of my voice, then you probably realize that the end of this video is messed up. We lost some footage, we broke some footage, whatever the tech guys tell me is what I'm telling you. But what you can look forward to is more food videos coming out very soon. We've got a brajol video, we've got meatballs coming out, veal sandwich, so many more as well. We're going to be doing a Chinese sausage video in the near future. We're going to be having a lot more fun with a lot more foods out and about and in our home kitchens and our Airbnb kitchens. So please join us again when LSD cooks.